another wonderful time on television on our program, African Discourse on Independent Television. A very good afternoon to you. My name is Evan Sunokuye. Sincere apology for starting this program behind schedule. Now, the call for an African nation to have permanent seats at the U.S. Security Council has been something that has been talked about most recently. And we understand that very recently in Kampala, that's in the Uganda capital, there was a kind of there were 10 nations that came together to actually make that call. Now, the very big question that we ask is an African country ready to be a member of the permanent seats, permanent seat nations at the UN Security Council? That's one big question. Well, to discuss all this this afternoon, we're so privileged to have Nowita Igbutako, a Syrian author, and of course a human rights activist and also a public affairs analyst. So welcome to the program, African Discourse.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Now, so as we set the foundation for this discussion this afternoon, let's look at the call for an African nation to be a member of those countries that enjoy the permanent seat factor at the UN Security Council. How do you look at it?
Well, before I proceed, it's a welcome development, but before I go into the issue at stake for today, I understand that the chairman of ITV, Radio and Television, is doing his birthday, So I'm using the opportunity to congratulate our chief. He has done so well for himself and his family. We will not run away from the fact that he's a global icon. He has made his mark. He's still making his mark. I'm saying, Chief Gabriel Igbenedion, congratulations on your birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So yes, as we proceed, the call for inclusion of African countries as permanent members of the Security Council is a welcome development, and it's not overdue. And this is not the first time that this call is coming up. I remember the late Zimbabwean president, Robert Mugabe, severally made the call that what is happening at the United Nations permanent seat, Security Council, why is it that it's only 5 countries that are overseeing the affairs with veto powers over the United Nations? That is, according to him, is arbitrary, it's uncalled for, it's undemocratic. And given the number of nations all over the world, according to Robert Mugabe, he said Africa deserves a seat because the continent is big, the continent is huge. The continent is riddled with crises here and there. But at least there are 1 or 2 countries in Africa that can fit in there. So I coming recently from this call from Japanese government, Prime Minister, other leaders. It's a fantastic development because it's not overdue. We call United Nations. I can remember vividly when the United Nations came on board in 1945. We remember the struggle after the Second World War, after the program, after the Holocaust. And President Franklin Roosevelt, United States, Joseph Stalin, there in the Soviet Union, Winston Churchill, great leaders, they came together and said, let's form United Nations, that the world has seen so much horror, But regrettably, when putting United Nations together, they had to put in a clause for permanent security membership, just 5 countries. We are talking of France, talking of Britain, talking of United States, talking of Russia, talking of China. Are we saying these 5 countries are they bigger than the rest countries in the world? I know they came from somewhere, given their antecedent, they tag themselves superpowers and all that. But I think it is time to balance the scale. Balance the scale means that United Nations should look at its statutory clauses. And even if we want to advance this document, this argument, it is time for African countries to start calling for the democratization of United Nations Security Council, permanent seat of the United Nations Security Council. This is overdue.
Okay. Now,
it's overdue.
You talked about the 5 countries that
Yes.
are permanent members of the permanent seat members now. You talk about U.S., China, Russia, Britain, of course,
China.
Now, we know that these are super nations.
Superpowers.
They are great superpowers of the world, great nations of the world. Now, if you look at the continent of Africa, which country can we boldly say, let's look at technological advancements, in all its ramification now, in all nationhood, technology and all that, which country can we boldly say should be a member of the permanent, should be a permanent seat member of the UN Council, Security Council?
Well, I am a Nigerian. Let me first push the case for Nigeria. But unfortunately, the kind of things that is inherent in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, do not give us an advantage. Ordinarily, as the largest black nation, the most popular black nation on earth, Nigeria is supposed to be.
Are you going by population?
No, I'm coming.
Some of the countries that are, permanent seat members,
they are very small.
as big as Nigeria.
Like France, and I know. Yeah. But given that appellation of the largest black administrative country in the world, apart from that, Nigeria has contributed to peacekeeping missions across the world, and Nigeria is paying statutory duties to the United Nations. But unfortunately, it's not enough for Nigeria. One big thing that is going against Nigeria is the issue of governance. There's no good governance in Nigeria. Before now, Nigeria would have skyrocketed to one of the biggest countries in Africa. Remember when Nigeria got independence in 1960? Nigeria had virtually everything. In fact, the daddy Alhaji, the former Prime Minister, saying countries were coming to come and beg Nigeria for funds. Alhaji, that former Prime Minister under the military regime, he served under Babangida, he served under Abacha. I was going through some documents, I saw what he said. He said Nigeria had everything, but misgovernance, tyrannical leadership that doesn't reckon with capital human development, and it's a sorry state. And look at where we are. Nigeria is not, corruption has finished this country. A cabal has driven Nigeria backward. And I think it's a clear call for Nigerians to look inwards and right the wrongs. If a country in 1960 was being, courted by lesser countries for financial and other.
Cup 800 naira. This one 1,000 naira. Our children, I don't know what we go do for this Nigeria again.
Osinachi.
Oh.
Osinachuku.
Osinachi.
Osalobua. Ogelaja. Osalobua. Ogelaja. Osalobua. Ogelaja. Muerere, 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 oh. Niya gega. Megiwe osisi.
Megiwe agbada. Rigbina baba.
I've not heard about that one before.
Quarantine. Now when person cough,
Then you say insider war. The entire human race wept. So kudos to Paul Kagame that for a nation that went down into ruins, that the man has brought it up. It's kudos to him. Talking about Rwanda, I think Rwanda has an edge, but it's not yet Uhuru in Uganda. Sorry, in Rwanda. Because some of the things they look at in terms of, criteria to be in the Permanent Security Council, they look at your human rights. Well, I'm not too sure whether it's a strong
human
criteria.
Right violation.
It's not a strong one because maybe what China is doing. Because they are superpowers anyway. They started it from the beginning. But these are some things they want to look at. They want to put anybody into the Security Council, giving the veto powers that are available to Security Council members. I think Rwanda has an edge because that man is taking Rwanda to places, technologically, economically, and otherwise. Though he has a very negative human rights records. He's a dictator. And the man is even aspiring to alter the country constitution to go for longer tenure. Yeah. So it's a dictatorship of the highest level that taking place in Rwanda. But I think Rwanda has an edge, and Kenya at a time, Kenya under the Kenyatas, you know, because Jomo Kenyatta laid a very good foundation, the first president, and Arap Moi came up, and the recent Uhuru Kenyatta and all that. I think Kenya has made some significant strides in terms of technological advancement. I think Kenya could be considered. But in all, we must be very objective. I don't want to be sensational. I don't want sentiment to come to it. I don't think there's no country in Africa that is qualified.
That there's no country in Africa?
Yeah. Because I was looking at Nigeria. I started with Nigeria because I'm a Nigerian. But Nigeria is not there. With all our resources, with everything we have allowed sensationalism, religion, elitist bondage to destroy the people, to destroy good governance.
Now,
it's a challenge. So for me, all over Africa, I don't see any country qualified. But if you are looking at ratings, I think Rwanda has an edge. Okay. Because that man has modernized that country. He has taken it from the throes of death into the level of glory. Okay.
Now, the country, Russia, there's always a big question mark on Russia as it stands now, because most people say that after this episode of this war with Ukraine and all that, that Russia does not qualify anymore to be a member of those that enjoy the permanent seats at the UN Security Council. Now, I do not know what the indices that are being used now to really say that, okay, this country can be a member, because we talked about human rights violations and all that. As it stands now, do you think Russia should continue to be a member of that Security Council?
For me, let me start from the beginning. You know, what qualified the permanent security members, the big five
nations,
the five big nations? What qualified them to be permanent members? Because they survived Hitlerism, Nazism, Tojoism.
The Nazist war.
Tojoism, I'm talking of Japan.
Second World War.
Second World War. Yeah. The Prime Minister, Prime Minister Tojo, he was the Prime Minister during the Second World War in Japan. And that was the reasons Japan now demilitarized and all that. So what qualified them into the Security Council? Because they fought a world war, and they become triumphant. Part of them met at Yatta in 1945, the Yatta Conference. That's where they laid the groundwork. They say, we are survivors. We were able to defeat Adolf Hitler, defeat Nazism, defeat Tojoism, the axis of evil, Italy then under Benito Mussolini, Germany under Russia, the axis of evil, three of them. Germany,
under Hitler.
Germany, Italy, and Japan, the axis of the three axis of evil. The Western power were able to defeat them, and we know the challenges that came up when Russia was almost defeated. Hitler almost overran Russia. It was just a saving grace. The Operation Barbarossa, Adolf Hitler, he almost overran the then Soviet Union. It was the snow that slowed down the pace of the military process. So what qualified those five, the big five? Because they survived that Second World War. So, and they took a selfish decision, parochial selfish decision, that now we are the new leaders, we are the big five. Yeah. So we want to control the affairs of the world. For me, the five permanent member is meaningless in terms of talking of a global setting, talking of United Nations. Because what led to the First World War in the first place? What led? The First World War came up with the collapse of the League of Nations. What led to the collapse of the League of Nations? Because They could not hold themselves together. Countries were fighting each other. Germany was fighting France, France was fighting this, and Germany was humiliated. And before you know it, Adolf Hitler said, okay, I will teach you what a lesson. So Hitler came up and all that. So for me, what qualified those big five, because they survived that Second World War and what have you. So now, I don't think there's any clear indices that be criteria
for them to remain there.
Like Russia, for instance. What drove Vladimir Putin into Ukraine? May Mikhail Gorbachev so rest in peace. Gorbachev tore down the Berlin Wall. Ronald Reagan told him, tear down this wall, the Berlin Wall, during the Cold War. And Gorbachev, he started some reforms, restructuring petrosovka, glasnost opponents and all that. Before you know it, his result consumed him. Then led to the scattering, to the demise of the Soviet Union. So why did Vladimir Putin enter Ukraine? Putin is in Ukraine because he wanted the lost glory, which was destroyed under Mikhail Gorbachev, to come back. I don't see any reason why Vladimir Putin is in Ukraine. Because he has disfigured the post-Cold War era, which is invasion of Ukraine. And given what he has done, his invasion of Ukraine is enough to disqualify Russia from the permanent seat of the Security Council. Yeah. Because what do we call permanent? What do they call the Security Council? Yeah. Is it not for the peace, security, and whatever? Tranquility of the world. But the man has scattered the whole thing. The other day, President Joe Biden, we almost call it a war criminal.
Anyway, let us also try to look at see we're talking about Russia here.
But these are the forces, these are the dynamics that control international politics.
The program is African Discourse on Independent Television, and we're looking at the recent call that an African nation should be a member of the permanent seats of the United Nations Security Council. And we've been able to postulate here that a country like Rwanda or Kenya can be a member. But we are still looking at the possibility if
even South Africa,
even Nigeria can also be a member too.
South Africa given the level of development before the blast came up.
Anyway, we'll quickly take a short pause now so that we'll let you see the other segments of the show today, African Discourse. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at what it portends for the African continent if we have a country from the African continent to be a member of the UN Security Council. Just stay tuned. The program is still African Discourse on Independent Television, and we still have Nowita Igbotako here looking at the call for an African nation to be a member of the permanent seats at the United Nations Security Council. Now, let's look at what it portends for the continent of Africa if eventually we have an African nation being a member of the United Nations Security Council.
Well, it will be a good omen because it will equate such countries, with the power play, the global power players. It will equate, for instance, if Nigeria is elected into the permanent seat of the United Nations Security Council, automatically it equates Nigeria into that.
The thing is a power play.
Into that gang.
Is there a power play?
We call it a gang.
Is there a power play with the big five?
What are you saying? What are they doing with the veto powers? If not for veto powers, Vladimir Putin will not be in Ukraine. If not for veto powers, the Allied forces being led by the United States, will have run into Russia, and they probably tell what will be there. And China is there. China is playing his role, siding Putin. The other day when Putin went to visit, China, you see, he's jumping in China. In Japan, this Chinese, when he went there, shortly before Putin invaded Ukraine, they had an agreement. See, there's no limit. Imagine that. Between China and Russia, no limit to any that they are best of friends. So it is because of the Security Council, because of the veto power. The United States is watching, European allies are watching. So that is one of the demerits of the security, the veto powers. Because, when Russia invaded Ukraine, United Nations, they met, or they sat down in the big hall. They condemn what happened in Ukraine.
Now, do you want to support? Do you probably want to support the call coming from some quarters now that the permanent seats should be scrapped? That all nations should be at that leverage.
In fact,
you are a member of the UN, you are a member of the UN. There shouldn't be any issue that has to do with permanent seats and non-permanent seats.
In fact, that was one of the push Robert Mugabe was pushing before he had problems with the Western powers. Though he was a dictator, it started where he ended badly. So I think it is overdue for the democratization of the Security Council. Because the big five, they are just being selfish, they are being parochial. And they are not policing the war in their own way. And it is due. In fact, this invasion of Ukraine is enough for the entire Security Council, for the entire General Assembly to call for the democratization of the United Nations Security Council.
Now, when you say democratization, I think what you are intending to say is that a situation should come whereby for you to be a member of the permanent seats Security Council thing, you have to be voted for and all of that. Now, if that is the case, do you think an African nation still has what it takes to even win such an election?
An African nation can win because we have the bulk of countries in Africa. How many countries are in Europe? How many countries are in America, in Latin America? Brazil, Latin America, Colombia,
South America, Europe.
Jamaica. But the bulk of the countries are in Africa, in the third world. So if the United Nations is democratized, that everything is based on election, the majority wins the vote, it will be difficult for some of these European countries. They will get into the Security Council. Though we know the power play, they will use technology, they will use their might to want to be where they are. But I think it's overdue. United Nations Security Council should be democratized because it is the undemocratic nature that has led to the stubborn, malicious invasion of Ukraine by Vladimir Putin. When Putin was putting the war game together, he knew that when he crossed the border into Ukraine, the generals will only shout.
They can't do anything.
They can't do anything. So, in order for the world not to fall into the same trap that led to the demise of the League of Nations, because the League of Nations find themselves in this quagmire. League of Nations find themselves in this quagmire. They could not arrange themselves when nations started invading each other at will. You get it? So, because that led to the demise of the League of Nations, the same factors are now coming to play.
Into the UN.
To the United Nations.
Yeah.
Lack of democracy. Because each nation unilaterally will just take decisions. Before you know it, they will just run, before you know their nation is in your backyard.
Okay. Now,
because of military might.
Let us even.
So the United Nations Security Council should be democratized.
Okay.
And that's the way to go. Yeah. I know the big five will not want it, but I think that should be an advocacy for African countries and third world countries.
Okay. Now let us even look at the permanent people that are not even permanent members now. So long as you are a member of the UN, let's look at being a member of the United Nations. How does it translate into some form of benefits for you as it were, as a country? Now, Nigeria, look at the insecurity issues that we are facing. Nigeria is a member of the United Nations. what attention are we really getting from the UN, as it relates to our insecurity issues? To what extent, are members of UN, getting attention from the big umbrella body, the United Nations?
Well, United Nations is saddled with all sorts of crises. And what is happening in Nigeria is not dissimilar. Several countries over the world, they have their domestic problems. Security problems, human rights problems. The other day, there was a report that came up about how the Chinese authorities were treating the Muslim in Uyghur, in the northern hazards of China. So what has the United Nations done? What have they done? So the bigger challenge is for the independent countries to put their hearts together. There's little or nothing United Nations will do for you. Though there are other things that go with United Nations, the other programs, economic, socio-economic programs.
Yeah, but we're looking at obvious problems now that demands obvious attention.
Because they pay statutory contributions, financial contributions to United Nations as members.
Okay.
So there are benefits that come to member nations. But
to what extent has those benefits, to what extent has it translated into what you and I can see?
You cannot see because there's corruption in Nigeria. When policy will put in place, a few opportune conservative political elements, they will corner it, and that is it. They are just like the Commonwealth of Nations. We have benefits that comes to play, but the gains are not visible because the bad political leadership has enveloped such gains. So there are quiet programs. United Nations, if you go to the University of Benin, for instance, we see their vehicles. From the school we went to, we see the United Nations program on climate, United Nations program on economic development, on human rights, and all that. There are programs, but at the end of the day, when the government in power is not pro-people, when the government in power has a hidden agenda against the people, such as we have in Nigeria, such as we have elsewhere in Africa, if government has a hidden agenda, the United Nations goodies will not rub on the people. Will never rub on. There are fantastic packages, programs, as members of the United Nations that nations enjoy. But we cannot see them. It is only the elite, the in-laws, the brother and sister to Minister of External Affairs, Internal Affairs, and things like that. So in most cases, this does not trickle down to the poor.
Okay. Now,
to enhance at that level.
A while ago, you were talking, and you talked about Rwanda. You talked about Kenya, that has a new president now, William Ruto, that has been confirmed by the Supreme Court of Kenya that he's the right president, of Kenya. Now, you also talked about Nigeria, but the worry that you have for Nigeria is that, as is where Nigeria may not have what it takes to be considered at all. Now, what do you think are those things that we need to fix right in our country, in Nigeria, so that when we are looking for countries, African country, to be a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, Nigeria can also be talked about?
Nigeria should move from rentier system, rentier economy, to productive economy. How many things do we produce in Nigeria? Nothing. See, the Naira has crashed because of incoherent, unstable policies. Look at where bad governance has led us. So if Nigeria wants to qualify, Nigeria should repair its internal affairs. There should be good governance. Good governance.
So you mean we don't have
a nation program on economic development, on human rights, and all that. There are programs, but at the end of the day, I don't want to mention that's a political candidate that is sounding like a thunderstorm across the world, even within and outside Nigeria. I don't want to mention the guy's name. Come 2023 presidential election, because Nigeria have gone through hell. You have a system that is insincere to its citizens, a cabal that controls the resources of the country. Look at the looting. Look at the conspiracy at the at the NNPC about what they call it,
the refining of crude oil.
This they do it will come now. Look at the looting at the NNPC. Look at the money amount for fuel subsidy. It has come.
Yeah, the subsidy issue.
Subsidy issue. People will sit down in their offices and be writing papers, and people, their cronies are taking the oil away. Oil theft is organized. And we know that Nigeria is a country that the mainstay is petroleum. When the mainstay of the petroleum is being filtered away, where do we go?
Yeah, these are
these are the things. Yeah, no. Because if there is good governance, if there is a government at the center that is proactive, that is for people, that what is done properly, that want to fight corruption the way it should be fought, will not be seeing oil theft in the subsidy issue.
Yeah, no, perhaps you may want to say that these are internal issues that we are battling with.
Yes.
Like you rightly mentioned that other nations of the world, they also have their internal issues. But let's look at us as a nation.
As a nation program on economic development, on human rights and all that. There are programs, but at the end of the day, when the government in power is not pro-people, when the government in power has a hidden agenda against the people, such as we have in Nigeria, such as we have elsewhere in Africa. If government has a hidden agenda, the United Nations goodies will not rub on the people. Will never rub on. There are fantastic packages, programs, as members of the United Nations that nations enjoy. But we cannot see them.
Because of corruption.
It is only the elite. The in-laws, the brother and sister to Minister of External Affairs, Internal Affairs, and things like that. So in most cases, this does not trickle down to the poor.
Okay. Now,
enhance at that level.
A while ago, you were talking and you talked about Rwanda. You talked about Kenya that has a new president now, William Ruto, that has been confirmed by the Supreme Court of Kenya that he's the right president, of Kenya. Now, you also talked about Nigeria, but the worry that you have for Nigeria is that, as is where Nigeria may not have what it takes to be considered at all. Now, what do you think are those things that we need to fix our rights in our country, in Nigeria, so that when we are looking for countries, African country, to be a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, Nigeria can also be talked about?
Nigeria should move from rentier system, rentier economy, to productive economy. How many things do we produce in Nigeria? Nothing. The Naira has crashed because of incoherent, unstable policies. Look at where bad governance has led us. So if Nigeria wants to qualify, Nigeria should repair its internal affairs. There should be good governance. Good governance.
So you mean we don't have good governance yet?
Where's the good governance? There's no good governance in Nigeria. Why are people clamoring for change? Change is in the air, my brother. I don't want to mention that's a political candidate that is sounding like a thunderstorm across the world, even within and outside Nigeria. I don't want to mention the guy's name. Come 2023 presidential election, because Nigeria have gone through hell. You have a system that is insincere to the citizens, a cabal that controls the resources of the country. Look at the looting. Look at the conspiracy at the at the NNPC about what do you call it?
The refining of crude oil.
This they do. It will come now. Look at the looting at the NNPC. Look at the money amount for fuel subsidy. It has come.
Yeah, the subsidy issue.
Subsidy issue. People will sit down in their offices and be writing papers, and people, their cronies are taking the oil away. Oil theft is organized. And we know that Nigeria is a country that the mainstay is petroleum. When the mainstay of the petroleum is being filtered away, where do we go?
Yeah, these are
the things.
Yeah, no.
Because if there is good governance, if there is a government at the center that is proactive, that is for people, that what is done properly, that want to fight corruption the way it should be fought, will not be seeing oil theft in the subsidy issue.
Yeah, no, perhaps you may want to say that these are internal issues
Yes.
that we are battling with.
Yes.
Like you rightly mentioned that other nations of the world, they also have their internal issues. But let's look at us as a nation externally. What are those external things, external problems you think we need to fix as a nation so that we'll probably give other countries of the world, some very good perspective about us. So that external issues.
Like,
I don't know, that's one that at least 2 nations of Africa should be non-permanent members. So that also brings us back to where we probably started from. We've been able to postulate that Rwanda, Kenya or even South Africa, or even Nigeria.
Nigeria is a big...
So let's look at the non-permanent membership now. So which countries can we say? At least 2 African countries.
Well, if I want to vote, my vote will go to South Africa and Kagame, Rwanda.
What is really the difference between being a permanent member and a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council?
It's obvious. They almost play the same role, but they don't have the veto powers.
The big 5, they have the veto powers.
Yes. The difference is that they don't have the power to veto anything, but they're just members at that period. They have a duration.
Yeah, a duration of about
1 year, 2 years,
3 years, after which other nations...
They will come down, they will now do elections, another person will enter, a couple of people will enter non-membership of the Security Council. So there is really nothing special. They are just there to do the work of the United Nations, the work of global peace, global sustainable development, economic development and all that. So, but they don't have the veto powers. When it's gone, started booming, and in any corner of the world, they cannot veto anything. Just like what happened in Ukraine. Non-permanent members cannot talk. They can only concur. They can only say, I do. So now, the reality, he places such country among the, so let's say elite, so-called elite for that period. Such country will have the benefit of, handling global issues more closely and all that. I don't think there's any special benefit. They don't have they are totally bulldogs. They are not like the permanent big 5.
Big 5.
Who can sit down at the corner of their presidential palaces and say, bet, no. They can.
Now, what do you think is in this big 5 issue? These permanent members, what is in them that seems to stand for, even when, like what we'll be talking about now, the fight between Ukraine and Russia? Other nations, other permanent members nations are just watching. People are dying by the human rights violations in Ukraine and all that. And
the greatest humanitarian crisis is going on in Europe now. Since after the Second World War, after the Cold War, which Mikhail Gorbachev assisted to midwife, the greatest humanitarian crisis is happening in Europe. Because of the Ukrainian war. You know how many refugees that are scattered over Europe? So if not for the veto power, do you think Vladimir Putin will have the power to do what he has not done? If not for the veto power, would Putin and the Chinese leader who's aspiring to go for 3rd term now, all those guys are dictators.
Xi Jinping.
He's manipulating things in a communist party in China now. In a few days from now, it will extend another 5 years. So if not for the veto power, they will not do that. So that's why we are calling for the removal of the big 5. Of the big 5.
Yeah.
They can still play their politics. The big 5 is a problem. My fear is that the big 5, the veto powers will not lead us to the 3rd World War. And if not for the tactical moves of the United States and its allies, we would have been going to the 3rd World War now. You know, when Putin immediately entered Ukraine, Putin was trying to do all sorts of things. He was bombarded and Zelensky was crying all over the world.
Now, would you want to say that the big 5, they are probably afraid of one another? Russia been afraid of Russia been afraid of US been afraid of China been afraid of Britain.
They are all imperialists,
imperialists,
my brother. They're all seeking greater glories for their country. It is greater glory that drove Vladimir Putin across the Ukrainian border. Because Ukraine is part of the former Soviet Union. You're part of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Yeah? They were there. And you have brothers and sisters across the countries. Even Mikhail Gorbachev was against Putin's involvement in the Ukraine war. He said, our brothers are in Ukraine now. Our grand sisters, they are
As
there.
a matter of fact, some first cousins, some Russian first cousins are Ukrainians.
So is Putin saying Ukraine is trying to do one thing, the breakaway, those republics, Donetsk, that you were trying to, they are all imperialistic moves by a dictatorial
disposition,
tyrannical, characteristics coming from a dictator. Putin is a dictator. The man in China is a dictator. It's only in the Western Hemisphere, like
Britain,
in Britain,
America,
France, Paris, they have a democratic. So, if not for the veto power, if Putin will not try his invasion of Ukraine,
so
take it from him. But the veto power that gingered him, because he knew that if he goes there, his brother in China, in the what is that capital now? His brother in China will support him, and his brother in China is supporting him. Look at the Security Council. How many countries are supporting Putin in Ukraine? It's only
China.
The rest are just looking. So what do we have? The third world countries, they should mount an advocacy for serious leaders, not the kind of leader we have in Nigeria now. Because the way you handle your internal affairs will make leaders to respect you. You ask me a question not too far now. That how do you want to be Nigeria externally? Yeah. It's just like we human beings.
What are some of the
is it not what you put on that will make you, that will show first, than before your internal content? Yeah. So it is your internal content, domestic content, well refined, that will not give you that scale to now say, okay, let me speak out.
In other words, it is the internal issues in African countries that give some level of attraction to outside African continent. That's what we were saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dawita, I really want to say a very big thank you for joining us on the show today, African Discourse on Independent Television. And the push is on. It's been on for quite some time now, for decades, letting an African country to be a member of the permanent seats at the United Nations Security Council, the Big Five, that's what we call them. You have United States of America there, the almighty Russia is there, France is there, China is there, and of course Britain is also there. Now these countries, they just enjoy some level of veto power, as it were, just as Dawita has talked about here. And that's the reason why you find these countries, when a member of the Big Five, we call them the Big Five now, member of the Big Five seem to be doing anything wrong, because of that veto power, other members cannot do anything, and that's not good. It is not good for the health, so to say, of the United Nations. Because the very essence of the United Nations is that all nations of the world should come together in tranquility. In a situation whereby some nations are trying to aid other nations at the expense of other nations, at the expense of when human rights is involved, it's really questionable. That's what we've been able to talk about here today on the program. Everybody, thank you one more time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Well, same time next week, the program is going to come your way, African Discourse on Independent Television. Until then, my name is Evan Sunokoge. Goodbye and God bless you.